So before we get started today, I would like to take a poll. So raise your hand if you would consider yourself a busy person. Raise your hand if you have a lot on your plate. Raise your hand if you're afraid of failure. That's pretty much all of us. So I'd say that a really common theme among all people is that fear of failure and how it prevents you from allowing your mind and your body to take risks. This is a hard thing to learn because we know that the grind, the more that you work, the more effort that you put into something, and the more you strain yourself, the more successful you will be. That's a common misconception among a lot of people. And I learned that this year a pretty hard way. So, who's busy? So, stress, burnout. We deal with these things on the daily. Friends, some of us have jobs, school. I know there's a few teachers in here. It's a pretty stressful job. There's a lot of things going on in our lives with stress and burnout. So, I'm going to talk about myself for a little bit. So, I've always been a pretty busy person, whether it be sports, extracurriculars, friends, just like all of you. Very busy. And it's hard to allow yourself to take breaks sometimes. So, and I know that while I've been playing sports and everything, I've had a few ligament issues. I know that a few years ago I hurt something in my knee, which has affected my play a little bit. Orthopedic issues. You know, like the usual among athletes. Until last lacrosse season, it began to get a little bit worse. I had to take some breaks sometimes. So, of course, we went to go get blood work earlier this year to figure that out. Whether that be a really bad disease, whether that just be something hereditary. We didn't know. So we went to get some vials of blood drawn. January 2022. And when I sat down in the chair, I was anxious. I was very nervous. This is my first time getting blood work. So as I sit down in the chair, my mom held my hand. I still have my mom hold hands when I get needles. Pathetic. And I was really nervous. I hadn't eaten anything all day because that's what you're supposed to do when you get blood work. So as soon as I was done, she stuck the IV in my arm, she pulled the vials, and I was very proud of myself. And the nurse stood me up, let go of my arm, and walked away, put all the caps on, and began to talk to my mom. And that's all I remember of that hour. Then I remember not waking up, but just being in an ambulance. And I remember seeing a medic, stick another needle into my arm. And he asked me what date it was. July. No. September. No. It's June, right? It must be June. No. November? No. You know what? It's December. My head told me that it was December 2020. December 16th, 2020, which was about 2 years ago. So he just said okay, and he asked me, do you know why you're here? I said, oh yeah, I was in a snowboarding accident. And I said that with confidence. I had no idea. And I remember that confusion. And I remember getting to the hospital, I was in a stretcher. I didn't know why I was in a stretcher, but I remember the confusion of it, and they ran tests on me. They told me the possibility that I could have cracked something in my skull where my brain was bleeding. They told me that I might have had a seizure. They told me all these different things that could have happened while I sat there in confusion. So we get home that night, and my dad drove my mom and I home from the hospital. And I laid in my bed, and we all told stories and talked for a while, just to lighten the mood, because everything was okay. And I'm so grateful that it wasn't anything more severe than a concussion. So, if any of you have dealt with a concussion, you know that it is a pain to get rid of, and it's a pain to deal with the effects of it on your mind, on your body. And you have to let yourself take a really long break from both. So I woke up that next morning, and you know like that 5-minute time period when you wake up and your mind almost like erases everything that happens the day before, and you kind of just wait for like 5 minutes? So I sat there, it was a sunny morning, it was a Saturday. I looked out the window next to my bed, stretched, felt great. And then I go to itch the back of my head, ouch. There were cuts on the back of my head from where I fell. And I realized again that I did have a concussion. So my mom and I talked a little bit that day, and my dad came in as well. We discussed what had happened. So as soon as the nurse let go of me, I passed out, and my head hit the floor, and I wasn't out for very long, but I don't remember waking up. I have no memory of what had happened. So I know that my mom asked me what my name was, which I did remember that. I remembered it, but I kept saying it on repeat in a robotic-like voice. And she was scared out of her mind because she had no idea what had happened. I couldn't recall many people. I didn't know exactly who she was. But I don't remember that, which is weird. Because now whenever we talk about it, I still have no memory of that hour. But I do remember being in the ambulance. So, what is my point in telling you this? Well, I brought it up a little bit before, how a concussion can cause a very big pausing point in your life. It causes you to have yourself take a physical and a mental break. Mental, you have to give your brain a rest. Physical, you don't want to risk hurting your brain again. Because normally when we take breaks, if that's a mental break, we normally go to physical activity. If we take a physical break, we're working our minds, typically. Whether that be watching TV, on your phone, anything. You normally cancel out one, but focus on the other. So I learned this lesson the hard way, that taking breaks is very beneficial because, I will not lie, getting back to school was very frustrating. 4 days after that Friday when I fell, I sat in math class and I tried to follow along, trying to fall asleep. I was exhausted, but I kept trying to do it. I kept trying to keep up with my class. And I realized that that was not the smartest thing to do, considering that it prolonged my symptoms, and it made the concussion worse. So telling myself that I needed to take breaks, I didn't do that alone. I had help from my parents, my counselor helped as well. And it was a very long lesson that had to be learned. And so I'm here today to tell you that your mind and your body deserves breaks. No, I do not want you to fall and hit your head on the floor and get a concussion to learn that. That's not ideal. But after now, it's been 181 days since I fell, and I'm back into the gym. I'm back in school full-time. I'm taking all my tests, just like keystones. Everything's back to normal for the most part. But now I realize that that little time period after when I fell to now was one big, long, needed break. Because in school, I feel refreshed. Working out, I feel refreshed. It's so refreshing to take a break from something and come back to it feeling even stronger. So my message for you today is that the truth is we all need to take breaks. No matter who you are, how often you work, you don't have to be working extremely hard, but you still need a break to come back as your best self. And my dare for you, you should take a break sometime. Thank you.